Hello and welcome to my video blog for Saturday, November 20th. Now, I haven't been talking a lot about Sarah Palin, and that's because, let's face it, she hasn't really been doing anything very political these days. I mean, sure, during the campaign season, she was out there endorsing candidates, but she's no Jimmy the Greek. I mean, all her candidate endorsements were pretty much a given. She's a Republican, she's a Tea Party supporter, and who does she endorse? Republicans and Tea Party supporters. So there was no real big stretch there. Then it seems as though some media outlets are just giving her all this credit and giving her all this pull, and that, oh, she's the big new leader of the Republican Party and she has so much power. But if she really has a whole lot of power, and if she really is the new leader, what is she doing with that? And that she hasn't really used all that power to maybe push through some legislation and really get behind some mandates. I mean, hey, let's face it. The biggest thing that she probably did was show up at some school in Pennsylvania and bring cookies. All in a very lighthearted way to sort of bring light to the fact that the government shouldn't be intruding itself in terms of what our kids are eating in the schoolroom and, in schools. And, hey, we all sort of agree that, yes, the government doesn't need to control everything, and the government doesn't need to control everything that goes into the mouths of our children. We're all on board with that. And again, that was no big push, no big surprise, no big stretch for her. So, 2 years out of office, what has she really been doing with her political downtime? I mean, sure, she's made fun of President Obama for being a community organizer, but at least he did something within the community. What has Sarah Palin been doing? Well, let's see. She opened up a Facebook account. She has been commentating on Fox News, and I'll give her that. She's a commentator there. But outside of that, during her downtime, she's changing the color palette on her Twitter page. And oh yes, did I forget that she now has a reality television show? She has a reality television show. Like, I'm so not impressed by that. And somebody else who doesn't seem to be impressed is former President George W. Bush. Now, he seems to have pressed the pause button on Sarah Palin, and that he does not want anything to do with her. And when her name is actually brought up, he has no comment, nothing to say. And that strikes me as odd, because George W. Bush has been out there promoting his book and has been talking about everything. Everything. I mean, from the war in Iraq to the war in Afghanistan to weapons of mass destruction, Saddam Hussein, like all these crazy things that went on during his presidency. He's talking about it. He's even talking about Kanye West, like talking about it. Waterboarding. Yes, I do it again. Talking about that. I mean, there's nothing that's on the table that he won't talk about. But if you bring up Sarah Palin's name, it's like, oh no, doesn't want to talk about it. Doesn't want to be brought into the fray. And I kind of thought it was really odd that when, in this interview that which he did with Oprah Winfrey, it was as if she had kind of like brought out this kryptonite and he started to like shrink in his seat. I mean, he wanted absolutely nothing to do with that element of the conversation, but everything else is fair game. So that strikes me as odd. Out of all the things in which the president seems to be getting engaged in, Sarah Palin isn't one of those things. So if George W. Bush has pressed the pause button on Sarah Palin, I think we need to take note. Maybe everybody else should maybe do the same. I don't know. Just saying. Now, something else that's been quite odd this week is Charles Rangel. And that he's been all in the news in regards to his ethics violations case that's been going on this past week. And this whole proceeding sort of started out like a top 40s playlist. On Monday, there was Rangel standing on a congressional House floor giving us a whole lot of Johnny Cash. Standing tall, I walk the line. Like, that was him on Monday. Pretty, stern and defiant and, walking off as if, hey, I'm Charlie. What can you do? What can I say? This is who I am. But come Thursday, He changed station, changed tunes. I mean, he had pretty much was giving us Duff's I'm Begging You for Mercy. You know that song? Begging You for Mercy. Yes, that was him. Down on his knees come Thursday, singing that tune. But the Congressional House Committee pretty much wrapped everything up with the One Republic's tune, Too Late to Apologize. Too late to apologize. Too late, too late, too late. Yes, that was the whole thing on come Thursday. Now, it all started off pretty comical because when Charles Rangel showed up in the beginning, it seemed pretty funny in that he came in with this whole I'm too poor to pay attention or get a proper defense. Like that was the scene on Monday. But on Thursday, things got very serious in that the fact that he was, abusing the rent control issue, misappropriation of government stationery, not paying taxes for 17 years. And wasn't he the chairman on a Congressional House Committee regarding taxes? Like that all seemed to catch up with the congressman. And depending upon who you maybe followed or listened to or talked to, some people thought that his House violations were kind of, incidental. Like, yeah, he did them, but they weren't really that bad, like just little broken house rules. Like he got up from the table and he didn't push his chair back. It's nothing. Small little thing. Or like he borrowed the remote and he didn't put it back in its proper place. That's nothing. Or like maybe he forgot to take the trash out and it stunk up the house. It's nothing. We'll get over it. Well, not everybody thought it was so incidental, and not everyone got over it. Because in the end, those 11 violations pretty much landed the congressman in the ranks of 22 other congressional leaders who have all been censored. And so for now, the scene has faded to black on Charles Rangel. Now, on a lighter note, I just love it when, public figures sort of show that humorous side of themselves. When they kind of show us that they're a little human, And I like a recent quote that came out from Todd Palin. Yeah, Todd Palin. And that there was that People magazine interview in which Sarah Palin did. And she was talking about the fact that there's been rumors that her and Todd were going to get a divorce. And Todd sort of came back and said, well, hey, if we're going to get a divorce and you've got all this money, you need to show me the money. And I kind of thought that was really cute. And then there's this recent video of Wolf Blitzer. Now, Wolf Blitzer, he kind of strikes me as somebody who's very conservative and probably doesn't listen to rap music. But here it is. There's this video of him, and he's out there and he's doing the Dougie Fresh dance at some awards ceremony, and that they asked him to do it. And they're like, Wolf, will you do the dance? Come on, let's do it. And he's like, and he starts to do it, and he starts doing this Dougie Fresh dance. And I don't even know the Dougie Fresh dance, but Wolf obviously is like, hey, I'll do it, and he starts doing the dance, and everybody's like, oh, go Wolfie, go Wolfie, go Wolfie. Now, somebody else who we thought was going to go was Nancy Pelosi. Yes, everybody thought that they were going to get rid of Nancy Pelosi, but it didn't happen. She's still in the House. Now, she beat Heath Schuler of North Carolina 150 to 43 votes. So come this January, she will be the House Minority Leader, Speaker for the Democrat Party. Now, this whole situation with Nancy Pelosi and, her sort of changing positions in the House and blah, 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 really reminds me of the story regarding 3 women approaching a car, and it involves driving. So here's the story. There are 3 women, they approach a car. Now, the first woman, she's very, very bossy. She has to be in the driver's seat. She has to. And that's where she goes. Now, the second woman, she's very lazy. She wants to sit in the passenger seat because, let's face it, she likes to be driven around and she really doesn't want to think very much because she's lazy. But the third woman, she's very smart. And she realizes that she'll be able to effectively navigate this car from any given position in which she sits in that vehicle. And that's something to think about. And on that note, I'd like to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you next time.